Hello, uglies of Chicago, Detroit, Silver Springs, New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, Raleigh, Atlanta, Houston, Orlando, Dallas, Tucson, Phoenix, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, and last but not least, Seattle.
The Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5 US tour is about to hit the road. We'll be traveling around the country with a rotating cavalcade of stars from Dragula's past and present, and bringing you show-stopping shocks and performances every night. The tour is kicking off, so be sure to get your tickets now at dragulalive.com, and we will see you soon.
Now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Welcome, uglies new and old, to a new season of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. Swan, did you miss the podcast?
Yes, I missed the podcast. I feel like it's been way too long.
It has been. It's been since January. We basically wrapped the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5. We released our last recap of that episode, and then we took a hiatus. So we have been MIA for quite a little while.
Yeah, it really has been. And I think it's kind of good, right? It reminds people that they miss the podcast, they love it, and it gives us a little breather, but we come back with lots of energy. And I'm sure you can all feel that already. And we're very excited to be back in effect for the next season of the show.
Yeah, and I do want to thank the fans at the beginning of the podcast here for not ruining the finale of Season 5.
How generous.
I really appreciated not having like a red alert, full-blown meltdown on the internet over the winter. That was fantastic.
Over nothing.
Or
most
over a
of the time.
missing bucket of blood. It could be that too.
Oh, it could be so many things. Wow.
Well, everyone seemed happy with it, so I'm thrilled.
Yes. And that's a thank you from both of us. Thank you for not ruining Christmas.
Yes. And in fact, because you didn't ruin Christmas, we were able to get away for a quick vacation for the first time ever. We went to Japan for a while. That was a lot of fun.
Kind of a trip of a lifetime. Our first time in Asia, and the culture shock was so real. But probably my favorite part about the trip, which was just kind of soaking up and being in the Japanese culture.
Yeah, me too. I could live in Japan for that reason alone, because I'm like, nobody looks at you, nobody bothers you, nobody is loud, nobody's obnoxious, nobody's messy. I'm like, I'm moving here.
Yeah.
This is what I could get into.
And what was it like when we got back to LAX?
It was terrible. So it wasn't even LAX. We were in the airport in Tokyo, and we went to the lounge, and it was filled with Americans, and it was immediately annoying.
Loud, abrasive, disgusting.
Yeah,
I couldn't
people
handle
fighting
it.
over the food. I was like, oh my God. Anyways, Japan's fantastic, and I think everyone should go there.
Yes.
What else have we been up to? Because we've been MIA for a bit. Oh, we did a little thing like produce and film an entire project. So there's that, of course.
Yes, that did have our time occupied.
It's very easy to disappear, right? To disappear from any kind of public life or social media or anything when we get into these projects, because you're so slammed every single day from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. And it's just easy to exist in that world and not outside of it.
Oh, no, absolutely. And it's kind of, oh God, I feel like the roads kind of just missed crossing perfectly, because we just wrapped. We really just kind of like finished something really huge. But last week or the week before, we had an invite from a certain Real Housewife of Beverly Hills to go to Sutton Strack's launch party, which was the first filming of the next season. And for those of you that know and know how much we love all of our Real Housewives, it was so painful not to be able to go.
So we were in the middle of production. We were invited to go to Sutton Strack's costume ball, and we were just like, I gotta love myself. I can't go.
Yeah, it was
and
rough.
That's what it was. It was like, I can't put that stress on myself. I can't do it. And of course, then we didn't go. And then we discovered that was the first day of filming for The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Which would have been really fun to be there.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah. Anyways.
We also missed the GLAAD Awards, and what a star-studded show that was. But we were like hemmed up and like kind of filming daily, so we weren't able to do that. But I was very flattered and just really grateful to be nominated, and being invited to the ceremony is definitely like, you know, a notch in our belt.
I agree. I mean, it's good to see them recognize our show and what we do and the diversity that we celebrate, because they seem to like to cover, you know, any sort of motions towards diversity in the media. And I'm like, here we are. We have all queer people on our show. There's drag kings, drag queens, non-binary performers, just across the board. Tons of diversity and just celebrating everyone equally. And a lot of times I feel like that gets overlooked in the queer media for some reason. They're just like, they're monsters. I don't care. You know, I need to go watch Drag Race. And it's just like, okay.
Seriously.
But
they're coming around. They're coming around,
they are
right?
coming
and they're
around.
not the only ones, because something that we didn't put on our little itinerary here, but that we did do since the last time we spoke to the fans and had an episode of Creatures of the Night, we were nominated and won our second Makeup and Hair Guild award for the Boulet Brothers Dragula.
Yeah.
And now there's
We have a little
4
collection of
golden
trophies.
trophies in our case.
Yeah. I still am the most flattered by that award because it's from people that work in the makeup industry in TV and film. So all the major makeup artists are there and celebrated. And it's just really nice to be not nominated and win because of your popularity, but because of your actual skill. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So the tour kicks off tomorrow night in Chicago.
Woo!
And we have been rehearsing for that. How do you feel rehearsals are going?
I feel rehearsals are going well. I mean, as well as can be expected. We've done this a few times, so I'm not too worried.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, and we can talk about it after we do a couple of shows, you'll see Swan decided to make a trigonometry spell in the middle of one of our shows and mix it with choreography and then dump that on me today. So that's fun.
When the audience sees actually how simple it is, they'll be wondering what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh my God. Are you excited for the tour?
I am. I really am. I mean, I think I've said it so many times that touring and being in front of a live audience is probably one of my favorite aspects of what we do. Mm-hmm. I'm just a little short in the energy department. But as it gets a little closer, I get more and more excited, and I'm ready to give it to them.
Okay, now we have a lot of guests on the tour too.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see most of them.
Oh, that's so loaded. Backhanded and shady. What are you talking about?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see how everybody behaves. You know, you never know what to expect.
Yeah. Every
That
family.
is a warning. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Since we're doing the podcast at a lot of these tour stops, I want to interview some of the guests when we stop there. So there's a couple of people I want to have a conversation with, and I think that's what I was referring to earlier.
Do you think those that are going to be in attendance can anticipate Drac putting someone on the spot?
Yes, definitely. Because I want to know. I am going to become Twitter.
Is
for
it going to
that
be
hour.
me?
No.
Oh, not again. Okay, cute. Well, on that note, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
Welcome back, Uglies. I think it's time we bring in our news anchor and co-host, Mr. Ian DeVogler. Ian, welcome back.
Oh my God, Mr. Ian DeVogler. Ooh la la, when did that happen?
I don't know. It's sort of official because it's a first podcast of a new season, so I thought we'd be polite.
Oh, got it. So translation, butch it up, honey, get ready.
Don't worry, Ian. When I introduce you next week, it'll be Miss Ian DeVogler.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was
He
so-
told me he's non-binary.
Look, put her name in a gender blender. It never does it even matter.
Honestly, Honestly, yes.
I thought I love a little of both.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Who cares? I was on Drax's side when I wasn't here in the studio, but I was listening through the walls of the trigonometry spell. I was like, oh no, oh poor Drac. But then when Swan explained the simplicity, I thought, I don't know. I've done a couple of workbooks. Maybe I can handle it. Maybe.
Make a triangle here and then go over there. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I don't know, honey.
I'm like, oh my God. Put on these blind contacts, put on these stacked heels,
Yeah.
a corset, and walk in these weird triangles. I'm like, okay.
Let the lights hit you directly in the eye.
Drac, poor you. You know,
Aw,
poor
Drac.
you. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
I hate choreography.
Oh my God.
Ian, so you've been sad without us?
I can tell.
I gotta be real with y'all. The last time that we recorded, which you reminded me was in December, I left the studio, I sat in my truck, and I just disassociated until this exact moment. I have just been sitting there
good.
just,
Oh, that's perfect.
and then I got the call, the summoning to return to the podcast. I was like, yay! It's back!
You snapped out of it, and here you are.
Exactly. I am so happy that we're doing the podcast again. Like, it is truly the light of my life.
So have you been consuming a ton of horror content since we met last?
I will say that I have been consuming a ton of content. I don't know how much horror content, but the horror content that I have seen, I have been ravenously consuming.
Well, give me your one piece of media that is not horror related that you are in love with right now.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to shoehorn this one in because it's sci-fi and I think there are like kind of horror adjacent elements, but I just recently binged all of Fallout on Amazon Prime and I just feel like y'all would love it. It is so just wonderfully over the top and gory and kind of campy, but just really well written and just fabulous. And Snacky is in it.
Oh, really?
Snacky is the star. And Mama,
Are you serious?
Snacky eats.
Wait, does Snacky eat snack like you on set?
Snacky eats like me on the tour bus at 3 a.m. ready to scare the shit out of Drag.
Oh my
Good for her. I'm
god.
glad she got something.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
Yeah.
they treated her awful on Yellow Jacket.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was going back to Yellow Jackets, just looking at big old spoilers, everyone. Looking back on the way they did her makeup as Snacky, and I thought, damn.
It was rough.
Someone really had it out for her that day.
Maybe they were the same person that did Melissa McCarthy's Ursula makeup.
There is a makeup, not assassin, but something on the loose.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're watching is something you've already watched, which is an old series, which is The Leftovers. Yeah, and you've already watched all 3 seasons, right?
Yes. I saw The Leftovers, and for those of you who know my partner loves depressing media, and so he was like,
I thought he liked happy, cutesy shit.
She goes through phases.
Okay.
Like there are times where she'll be like, "Oh, like, let's watch this." I'm like, "Oh, this is cute," and it's like nice and sweet. And then other times she'll get this like really devilish grin. And she's like, "I want to show you something really fucked up," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." It'll be like The Leftovers, and I'm like, "Oh." So it's depression, huh?
No.
Oh my God, seriously. No, the first episode, 'cause this was a recommendation from a friend. And I'm like, yeah, I love a new series. Like Drac and I binge. We have some downtime. Let's do it. The first episode, I was like, oh my God. I don't know if I can handle this show right now.
It's
Like
a
it was a
it
lot.
is so dark. It
Yeah.
is so grim.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And of course, no spoilers, but I'm really excited for y'all to get to the finale because the finale is phenomenal, but
But don't tell me. Just don't even say
Yeah,
what it
it's
is. I don't
fierce,
wanna
it's
know.
fierce.
I
It's just
guess
great.
There
It's
are
great.
3 seasons of the show. Drac and I have finished the first 2, and I do think that they're definitely binge worthy, and both seasons are totally worth a watch.
Yeah, I agree too. And I think that the mom character is my favorite right now.
Oh, the mom is great.
The real mom, not the stepmom.
Oh.
Well, I don't know if she's ever really the stepmom. She's a step girlfriend, I guess.
She's the other woman.
Nora.
Yeah, Nora.
Yeah, Nora's great.
Yeah.
Slutty Cop is my favorite though.
Wow.
They know exactly what they're doing with her. I mean,
Episode
every
1,
other
the jogging
scene, he's
pants
nude.
running down the street. I was like, okay.
He's
I
like
see.
donging around in the opener. He's naked at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
We see his ass. We see his abs. Like it's always. I mean, it's just always there.
It's interesting that they pick a male and they show him in those very exploitive ways, which you just don't usually see on a show.
I love that for us.
Well, there's another aspect, which I don't know. Have y'all really interacted with Liv Tyler's character a whole lot?
I'm not into her character.
Okay.
I am into her character.
Okay.
And you dropped a crumb the last time we spoke about The Leftovers, and when we were watching the other night, I was like, that's the character that Ian's talking about.
I can't believe it is. I'm like, come on, Brown Mouse.
Yes! Come
Why
on,
you?
Brown
I
Mouse.
thought the mom was going to take over the call and then, but I guess now she's good again. So
You
I don't
never know. You never know what's going to happen.
True. So then I thought it might be the woman that was disabled in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah,
Because she woke up and I was like, does she become the villain?
That would be amazing.
I thought so too.
That would be amazing.
Because there's something going on with the preacher. I don't know what it is yet, but I don't know. We'll see.
The Preacher is also in another show I saw recently. Actually, I saw The Martian, which total sidebar.
Okay. Don't know what that is. Please tell me.
Okay, so for those of you at home, The Martian is an adaptation of a science fiction novel called The Martian, and it's got Matt Damon and her science abs. And anyway, the preacher plays the director of NASA in that movie. Anyway, moving on.
I could see him in that role though.
Yeah,
he
he's
has
really-
that scientific nerd quality.
Yeah, he's good in it. Anyway, Liv Tyler, I love you.
She tried to get naked too in the show. Remember he got
Oh.
naked and climbed up on top of the van? I was like, don't do that.
I was like, you better get Kevin Garvey over here. You better get him dong copping out.
You could tell though, the priest started working out between season 1 and season 2.
Oh yeah, they were like,
She started plussing. Her look started
she's
changing.
like-
you got a little nose adjustment, a little
Yeah.
she got a little,
blepharoplasty happening.
a little Ozempic, a little tummy tuck.
Yeah.
She got her BBL done.
I was like, you're not ready to take your clothes off yet, but
I appreciate it.
oh yeah. So we were talking about the tour earlier, which reminds me, we have to let the listeners know that you are not going to be with us on tour.
I know.
For the first time ever.
It is a surreal feeling that I'm not going to be there. And of course, I am so excited to be able to experience the tour as a fan. Like that's the one big saving grace for me is I get to experience it like everyone else. Well, I mean, not like everyone
I know.
else. but-
I was like,
It's cool though. No. I've been putting myself in your shoes, in and out over the past couple of weeks, just imagining like, as I'm sweating, getting ready to pack the wardrobe cases for tour last week. And I'm like, Ian's not doing this. I wonder if that's weird. Like he's stepping away and he'll be able to come to the show and just see it as a fan fresh without knowing anything.
That's exactly where I'm at. And my feelings towards it are, like I said, surreal. Like there have been times, even in the past couple of weeks too, where I feel like the psychic link has been there. I'm like, oh my God, I bet you that wig case is getting packed right now. Oh my God.
She's packed the house down too. I think I got 14 wigs in there.
Yes! That is incredible.
but you are going to join us for the LA date, right?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll do a live version of the podcast.
Yes.
Come and do it with us. It'll be fun. Who knows? Maybe we'll call you from the road when we're doing the live podcast at some shows and put you on speaker.
Please, like I said, after the last recording, I just sat in my truck and just waited for the call, and that's all I'll be doing right now. I can't wait for the Creatures of the Night segment.
The tour was hard on you, I think. So it must be like a little bit of like love and hate, right?
I think that the season 4 tour is a little bit of love and hate.
Yeah.
But for me, touring is, like you said at the beginning, Swan, like touring is one of the most amazing special experiences for everyone who gets to be a part of the Boulet Brothers Dragula, for the cast and for the fans as well. Like touring is a magical experience. It's really cool. And to be completely honest, like the part that I'm going to miss the most is us hanging out in between the tour dates. Like that's the real, I mean, sorry everyone. No one else gets to experience that. So I'm kind of just, speaking from like the inner circle here.
Of
but like,
course. We'll believe it.
That's the magic.
We think about that too. We're like, we're not going to have those late night post show kikis over some weird kebab in like Australia.
Yes.
Like the weird, all the episodes we've had together.
Okay, all the weird, sorry for everyone in Canada, but like Canada, y'all don't know how to do Chinese food. I'm so sorry. It's just not your strong suit, and that's okay. That's okay.
But we have talked about doing a different tour. You said you would go again in the future, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I think you could take 1 year off.
I
That's
think
acceptable.
If the stars align and a tour presents itself and I am ready to go, let's do it. I am down.
I mean, it's true though that you are sucked away from your own life for so long because it's like season, then go on tour for 6 weeks, then go to Australia for 4, and it was just like
It was a crazy time, but honestly, a magical time. Like,
and, yeah, and
really
now
magical.
you can see that staying home isn't that fun.
So
Exactly.
whenever you're ready, the door is open.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I like to think that I'm brewing my own magical powers so that when I can return to the tour, that I can just really infuse it with more energy.
All right. Well, do you have any news items for us today?
Oh, do I?
Okay.
Like all good cultists, listeners of Creatures of the Night have been lighting their ritual candles and saying their incantations every night to summon the return of their beloved podcast and the horror hosts that machinate its macabre musings. First up on the digital Ouija board is the continuation of the ongoing saga that is the rights battle and the fate of the Friday the 13th franchise. The boat for Jason Voorhees has recently capsized, much to the dismay of many who are excited to see where A24 and Brian Fuller would take our hockey mask killer. But fans are a little perplexed seeing that Horror Inc., via the official Jason Universe website, have revealed that there are now plans for multiple franchise avenues via games, entertainment, and, quote, activations. But online reactions seem murky about what any of that means for the waters of Camp Crystal Lake.
I'm glad you brought this up because we heard about this firsthand because we know Brian and we've been talking to him about this series. I think we actually mentioned it on the podcast like last year. I was so excited for what he had planned because I know the whole thing. He told me everything.
What a missed opportunity
It's
for
so
everyone.
good.
Devastated.
It's so good.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe it. I was so disappointed to hear that because I think he actually went up there to shoot it and everything. I'm like, what happened?
The piece that I can't really wrap my head around is the piece that we may never truly know what is actually happening is just why? Why? Because everything that I've heard in the wake, come on, wake and water and boats and hose and all this, in the wake of the capsizing of this, I don't know, the show, is everyone who's attached to it has been saying how good it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like it's genuinely not fluff. Like, people were genuinely like, wow, this is a bummer. Like, this sucks. This show's gonna be so good.
He loves the source material too. He is a Friday the 13th fanatic, and he gets into the lore of all the characters and even characters from way back in the beginning or people that you thought disappeared and you'd never see again. He was bringing all that back together, and so I just would have loved to see what he was going to do, and I don't know what they're going to do with it now.
I bet you it's going to be a hot mess.
That's what I think.
It's going to be a mess. I don't think there's a big plan.
Oh yeah, I think it's a lot of marketing mumbo jumbo and it's going to be games and this and activations. And I was looking at a bunch of different articles and threads, and the consistent thread is just give us a movie. Just
Yeah.
give us a show. It's
Yeah.
been like 10
Yeah.
years. Like, just give us something.
The only activation that I've ever been to that I thought was worth its weight in salt was during the pandemic when they did an activation for Stranger Things in downtown.
That was
'Cause that
cute.
was sick.
That was cute. Even though I was for sure, I was like, I'm going to wreck my truck in this. Like, they should not be letting people drive through this thing. That is a scary
Yeah.
thing to do.
Right?
Yeah.
How did that happen? That seems dangerous as shit.
I know, but I mean, it was also pandemic time, so
Yeah.
I think they were
Yeah.
like,
They're doing
nobody
weird
get out of your
shit.
car.
The rules of reality were bending in so many ways back then. So who cares?
Who cares?
R.I.P. I wish it could have happened. I feel like he should like still do his story in like comic format or something. I don't know.
We can
People
hope.
will like it.
Speaking of long dead pseudo-zombies returning to stalk the barren wastelands of our current media platforms, horror fans have rejoiced as the long-awaited rumors have become reality for the continuation of the 28 Days Later franchise, with Cillian Murphy now confirmed to be returning to the sequel 28 years later, announced earlier this year. Listeners of the Creatures of the Night pod may remember that 28 Days Later was one of our first reviews, so if there was ever a time to stock up on your Junior Mints Movie Club snacks, I would suggest preparing for this doomsday pick sooner rather than later.
And was that because you did the Haunting of History on that island? Remember?
Oh, Pavelia, I think it was something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the very first Haunting of History, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was our first. We did a bunch of pandemic movies, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
What do you think about this new movie?
I am super excited.
Yeah.
Like, when I think about zombie media, I think that 28 Days Later stands as sort of a pillar in the landscape because it was the first time that we had seen zombies full on sprinting.
Yeah.
It's like, these are scary zombies. And Cillian Murphy's great. I mean, now she's like a big star. She
Yeah.
got Oscars, honey. So, hey, bring it on. And of course, since it has been a few moons since the damning digital drone now emitting from your listening devices last ensnared you, there are too many releases announced to fully tackle, but I thought you would all appreciate a rapid-fire offering of the following brand new offerings. The Pooniverse, or the Winnie the Pooh franchise.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yes, I'm sorry. I literally just wrote this so I could say Pooniverse on this podcast.
When I saw the posters for that, I was like,
Honey.
you've got to be kidding me.
I was like, now I feel like Reese Frank Waterfield heard our review and was like, I'm gonna make that little twink watch these movies. And
well,
whatever
I
it
think we
takes.
got invited to one of the premieres.
I'm ready. I have a renewed interest in Bambi the Reckoning, Pinocchio Unstrung, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. Like, I'm ready for all of it.
Who is paying for all this?
I don't know.
That's what I gotta know
know.
because I need to talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't want to see anything in the Pooniverse, then you could also check out Five Nights at Freddy's 2 in theaters December 5th, Insidious August 29th, 2025, Megan 2.0 is coming, The Black Phone 2, Edgar Wright is now in talks to direct the new Barbarella movie starring Sydney Sweeney.
Ooh, exciting.
Oh, I'm so ready. And this one I think is generally just for us. Did you see that the General Mills monster cereals are getting pets this Halloween?
No.
Yeah, Count Chocula is getting Igor the Spider, Frankenberry is getting a little bat, Boo Berry is getting a cat, and Carmela Creeper is getting a snake.
Now, who the hell is Carmela Creeper?
She's the new one.
I never met her.
Yeah, we don't really know her. We talked about her one time on the podcast, and I think that General Mills keeps trying to be like, hey, we have this new one.
Yeah, she's never been to my breakfast parties. I
Please
haven't seen her.
Trying to squeeze her in and make her happen.
I'm contacting the General Mills executive who was like, come on, include it in the news. I'm like, it's not working.
Nobody likes her. She doesn't go here. All right, well, moving on. It's now time for our first Junior Men's Movie Club meeting of 2024. Yay! So since we've been on break, we've all seen a ton of horror movies. So rather than us just reviewing one film today, we're going to do a quick review of some of our favorite and least favorite films of 2024 so far. So we haven't all seen the same thing.
Right.
We all went into our respective corners and watched our own weird horror.
That's right.
And now we'll come back and throw our cards on the table and see what we watched. I mean, I
Yes.
watched a ton of stuff, but there's a couple for me that stood out. As far as a new movie, Out of Darkness, I thought was really good. I don't know, Ian, you didn't see that one, right?
I have not seen Out of Darkness, but I know about it. They created their own language for the horror film I saw. Like,
Yeah, it's
like-
kind of like it's basically like Neanderthal people coming in this boat, and it's a horror set in prehistoric times. Basically, it's really good, actually.
I think that's the coolest part about it is that they were able to achieve a sense of dread and fear for your life, but in a prehistoric kind of
That is cool.
escape. So you're like, oh, I've never seen this before.
Is it like
that's
supernatural?
That's hard.
Or what's the horror like?
That's kind of like what they and the audience kind of tries to tackle throughout. Is it supernatural? Is it not? Is this a scary beast? They're in a new land where their tribe is dead and there's only like 5 of them and they're trying to make it through. And I think there are themes of dominance and male and female energies and stuff. I think it was really cool.
Really grisly.
I'm into that.
Yeah, and then for a classic, we watched Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca, which is the old black and white Alfred Hitchcock movie. Really good, very haunting, moody, beautiful, and dark.
Where would you put Rebecca? Which I just got to be real. I love a title that's just Rebecca.
Yeah.
Where would you put that in terms of the other like Hitchcocks?
We
we've seen?
watched Rebecca after Drac watched Marnie.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, Marnie was actually really good. Where would I put Rebecca? I'd say kind of in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as his movies, it's a great movie to watch, so I definitely would recommend everybody to watch it. I think you can watch it for free on YouTube because it might be in public domain at this point.
Oh my God, that is crazy.
I know. So you can go watch it for free. That way you can turn it off and you don't have to pay for it again if you don't finish it.
Yes.
Not that that's ever happened to me.
Right.
I've never bought a movie like 5 times to finish it, but
Oh no,
you know what movie I did buy like 100 times to finish was what was that one? Beau is Afraid.
Oh my God, yes.
Because I was like, I have to see it, but I kept starting to watch it, and I'm like, oh, I hate this movie.
Did you end up like hating it at the end too?
We never.
I don't think
Guess
we ever
what?
watched
We never
the
saw the
ending.
end.
I rented it 3 times and didn't watch the
Oh my
ending.
gosh. Okay, this is so funny to me because I recently saw on Twitter that it was like, oh, Beau is Afraid is, celebrating its first anniversary. And I was watching the paint scene and I was like, I love this movie. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites of the year.
It was giving flashbacks of DTLA 2020, like in the
100%.
midst of the pandemic and BLM protests. Like it was just scary.
Yeah, I feel like it is a really scary movie in sort of the weirdest way. Like it's not like traditional horror, but it is absolutely just like, get me out of here.
It's a nightmare for my nerves. I'm like, this is giving me so much anxiety. I want to jump out the window. Like, please.
So what about you guys? What movies are your favorites and least favorites that you've seen since we talked last?
Well, I think one that all 3 of us have seen, and it's kind of a special one because one of our good friends is the star of it, which is Late Night with the Devil.
Yes.
Which is streaming now. And this was one of those films where we got invited to someone's house to kind of preview it before it got released, which is kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
kind of like, ooh, this is cunty. This is cute. I like this. But then you're like, oh my God, I hope
What if it's not good?
What
Yeah,
if it sucks?
yeah.
Right?
Well,
Like,
you're like on. You're like you have to not perform necessarily, but you're on. It's like you're like, ooh, okay, like nobody move.
Yeah.
That happened to us once when Darren Stein was like, hey, come and watch the new episode of Dragula at our house. Remember that? And none of us had
can't.
ever been to a viewing party before that. And we're like, okay, let's go. And then I realized it was season 2, episode 7, the one that
Yep.
they forced us to break into 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Remember, it was supposed to be 1.
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
like, no, you have to make it 2 episodes. And I forgot that the first half, not
like
a lot
documentary.
happens. Not
Yeah.
a lot happened.
Yeah.
Not a viewing party experience, that's for sure.
I will actually never forget that viewing party. It's the only Boulet Brothers Dragula viewing party I've ever been to.
oh God, really?
Yeah, I think because it scarred me so bad.
It was so uncomfortable.
It wasn't good.
It's
No.
like everyone was there like, yes, we're going to
Ready for the
laugh at
tea,
some
honey.
sassy reads. And it was like,
Oh,
no,
so
you're not.
Tell us about your drag past, honey.
I think what you did get was, though, I love my car. I love my
Yes.
was
car.
that in that? No, it was in the next episode, wasn't it?
I don't think that you know either way solidly. So let's just say it's in episode 7.
Regardless, I do love my car.
Yes. I love my
People
car. too.
hated that song.
I hated that song. Anyway, you know what? Late Night with the Devil is not one of these embarrassing
Yes.
kind of like viewing parties. In fact, it was super fun. I think it gave David Dasmalchian an opportunity to really shine as the main man, not as a character actor, even though his character acting is incredible. And the movie ended up being like really great. I think it totally captured that 1970s aesthetic of like a talk show and what might go on behind it with the cigarette smoking and the outfits and everything. And then it just goes completely psycho, hellbound, off the rails to a degree that you don't expect. And it was
Yeah.
really, really fun.
I think that David's performance is my favorite part of that film. And watching David just star, it's really special to have interacted with David and to know him behind the scenes and then just see him in a leading role. It was very, very enjoyable. There are some things that, not my favorite things, specifically there's like blue force lightning at one point that I was like, oh, okay, that's a choice. But honestly, like it's like a blast. of a
Drax's
movie.
favorite part, the force.
really?
Drax is always a fan of Force Lightning.
Oh, well, I know that's true.
It's interesting because seeing him in this movie, it's such a different role than he normally plays. I remember like when we saw him in Boogeyman, and it was unsettling. His character was kind of scary. Like it was like it made everyone uncomfortable in the theater. I remember, which was cool.
Yeah.
But this one was sort of a flawed, I don't know, really engaging character, I think.
Yeah.
I remember when he was on what was that movie? It was like Dracula on a boat. You
Yeah.
know? And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, David.
Yeah.
Okay, unwashed.
The last voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah. God, we were just talking about that movie recently.
What about you, Ian? Have you seen anything that you think is worth mentioning?
Yeah, I remember because we had a little pre-meeting. We're like, oh, like what have we all seen? And I had forgotten that I had seen this film. And this is I want to say it's 2022. I want to say Danish horror film called Speak No Evil, and it's getting remade as I want to say a Blumhouse horror. And I think that you both would despise this movie.
Why?
Like, Drac, you specifically, I feel like you would hate it.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. It is.
Well, why? Tell me why.
So it's a horror film about this family who goes on vacation and they meet this other family. We'll call them Family 2. And Family 2 are, the husband is a doctor and they have this kid who is mute. And they go to visit Family 2 later on, like a year later. And from the moment that they get to Family 2's house, something is just not right. And it's about their vacation with Family 2. And it just is one of the most infuriatingly uncomfortable horror films I've ever seen.
You know what? As you describe it, I'm like, oh fuck. This scenario would make me nervous. Now, granted, everything actually makes me nervous, but
Really?
this no, it really does.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you're such a strong person. That's so
know.
surprising to me.
Well, thank you, but I mean, I am like the perfect fan and audience member for any horror movie because all the tropes, all the tricks, everything works on me.
Oh yeah. I
I'm
feel
like
that.
jumping and leaping, and I'm not screaming like you, like because you're the only one. And every time someone says like, "Oh my God, you're so jumpy," and I was like, "I am," but at least I'm not screaming like you.
Yeah, you actually don't know what it's like to see a movie with someone who like jumps and screams until you see one with me.
It's so good. You're like one of my favorite people to go see a horror movie with.
I actually will never forget seeing Barbarian together. Like that was such an incredible movie viewing experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was trimming my mic's hair.
I look over and Drac has a pair of scissors, and I was like, "This bitch about to cut my mic."
You see, there's like these covers.
Yeah.
It has like a hair shooting off, and it was driving me insane.
Oh my God, Drac wants another hair monsters challenge.
Do you guys need a haircut on your mic?
I'm good.
Honestly, mine has like little like rubber band tendrils. Oh, never mind.
Oh my God. All right. So I also want to take a minute to do a quick Creatures of the Night book nook review, which we haven't done in a long time.
Yeah,
she can
Because I
read. She's a
finished-
literate queen.
That's right. Because I finished Tananarive Dew's book, The Good House, and I finally want to talk about it.
Tell us.
I will. Okay, so we assigned it as a read for the book club before the break, so we're a little late on reviewing it, which she reminded me of. Rightfully so. She was like, I thought y'all were going to read the book on the book club. And I was like, we did, but then we took a break. And she's like, oh, okay. She was like, did you not like it? And I was like, no, I loved it, actually. So we're going to talk about it now.
Great.
So let me just tell you a little bit about what it's about. So the synopsis is Angela has not returned to the good house since her son Corey died there 2 years ago. But now Angela is finally ready to return to her hometown and go beyond the grave to unearth the truth about Corey's death. Could it be related to a terrifying entity Angela's grandmother battled 7 decades ago? Yes, it is. But
Spoilers.
yeah, and Swan, you actually listened. You were listening to this with me for a while. This is the first time I have listened to an audiobook.
Oh.
Yeah, because I remember when we were on tour last year, I took the book with me and I'm like, this is the book I'm going to read on tour, of which I never read one word.
Well, that's what happens on tour because we're like, I'm going to bring all these added material. I'm going to read this book and I'm going to learn this and I'm going to watch these. No, you're not.
You're not doing it.
You ain't going to do any
Remember
of that.
when Ian had his journal and he wrote in it one day?
I did one.
That was so cute.
So while we were on set this year, because, it's like hours of makeup every day, I listened to it while I was painting every day.
Good for you.
It was kind of nice because it put me in a haunted kind of mood too. So just to sort of report on what the vibe of the book is like, it's more of a haunting, I would say, than a horror.
Okay.
But it is scary and it has some very tense moments in it. It's a little bit of a slow build. It teases the haunting and the ghostly aspects of it early, but it's when it starts to get towards the end, it picks up a lot of steam and it gets very dark. Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
I would say if you like ghost stories or stories based on hauntings or possessions, you will definitely love this book.
I honestly am going to pick it up because the last horror audiobook that I listened to was not my favorite, and it came very, very highly recommended by a lot of different sources, and I was very disappointed in it. So this actually sounds great, and I really trust the person who is recommending it.
Yeah, and she has a new book out called The Reformatory too, which I'm going to take with me on tour this year, but I'm going to listen to it on an audiobook while I'm getting ready for the night. That could be your next Book Nook assignment. Read The Reformatory from Tananarive Dew, and we will talk about it in the future.
That's an uncorroborated suggestion and assignment, but we can let it float there until
I know. I was thinking, I'm like, wait a damn minute. Hold on. It's
This
Swan
is
Thula's book
Nook.
nook.
Yeah, I'm like,
Who don't read?
oh my God, you're about to get red.
Yeah.
I caught it Swan Thula's Book Nook to be sarcastic.
Yes, you did. And then all of a
And
sudden,
then it
people
worked.
are making me fan art.
People were
and I'm
sending you
getting-
books. They were sending her books.
No, I got some really cute shit, like collector's boxes with books and blankets and all kinds of like stuff
It's
to go
such a
with
slap
that.
in the
We
face.
gotta make we need to have like a Drac Mortis something. Like I don't know, like what like I don't know, Drac Mortis candle corner or something.
know.
You get a lot of candles on
I
tour.
do. That's true.
You do. And on that note, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be answering a few lucky listener questions, so stay tuned. And we're back, and we're ready to answer all of your insidious inquiries. We have a ton of mail to catch up on, so if we don't read your question on this episode, we will definitely try and get to it in the following weeks. Ian, would you please do the honors?
Ooh, it's been a while. This is a heavy mail sack.
Never gets old.
I know. Sean writes, I've always wanted to know where the inspiration for your respective drag names and joined one came from. As I'm a firm believer in tit for tat, if the questions are answered, I shall send my firstborn to work to provide labor.
I'm going to call them on this because I'm going to answer it and I want some free labor.
Yeah, right? I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
I'm like, I don't know what that means. Yeah, the job is yours.
Yeah. I know a firstborn must be valuable in some
Yeah.
spell or something, so we'll
Yeah.
take it.
Absolutely.
So our individual names are actually names that we made up and used for fantasy games when we used to play back in the day. And we used to not have individual names. We were just the Boulet Brothers. So when we did interviews, you'll notice if you go back in time, it'll say like Boulet Brothers and Answers instead of us individually. But we were on the cover of this one magazine and they wanted to go really in depth on us. And I remember the writer was like, you have to have individual names. And I mean, we fought with him back
No,
and forth.
it was
over
back and forth. And like we explained ourselves, and we'll actually know, and we're never seen separately. And he's like, you must.
So we picked those names.
Yeah.
And that's how they were born.
Yeah, and the reason that we thought they were appropriate is because they're so high fantasy, in nature, and I think in the way that they sound, and everything that we create, whether it's a television show or a spin-off or movies or nightclubs, it's a living fantasy. So
Yeah. Much to some people's dismay. I don't like drag because I want to wear pantyhose. Okay, or eyelashes or anything like that.
You mean
I
you don't feel
love it.
sexy in nylons?
Yeah, it's nothing about that. I like the fantasy and the horror, and that's the part that I like about it. So I think those names match the kind of drag that we do.
Yes. Not panty and eyelash drag.
Come on, panty and eyelash drag.
Not panty and eyelash drag,
I
just
said
to be clear.
pantyhose.
Not even- Roll the tape back.
Oh God, I hope I did.
Grace from Seattle asks, My question is 2 parts. 1, are you guys doing another album for this new season? 2, also, what bands or artists inspire your music, and would you recommend it if we like your style of music?
That's kind of a tough one because our new music, which, spoiler alert, yes, we are coming out with a new album around Halloween. And that music sounds very different than the music we've put out in the past, which I'm excited about because I look at genres of music as just different mediums of art. And I love that we get to play in a different playground this time, one that I think maybe is more fitting to our style.
Yeah, I think so too. And we've been playing around and really kind of like flexing our music muscles over the past couple of projects. And this one, I feel like we've landed in like a very sweet routine. I do want to say this though, as far as like recommendations or not, if you like our music, it doesn't mean you're going to like all drag music because you won't.
Yeah. So, I mean, drag music is very varied at this point, too. But there is definitely that sort of standard, like, I'm going to talk and someone's going to put a beat behind it. Yeah. You know? And I'm like, please don't.
Wait, hold on. Mama, that is a panty and eyelash banger. Catherine from Portland asks, hi, Swanthula, Drakmorda, and Ian. Hello. First, I just want to thank you guys for everything you do for our community and the awareness and creativity you bring to it. I just really adore your outlooks on our world and how it can be anything we really want it to be. I was wondering for each of you personally, what's been the hardest and most rewarding thing about filming the show, and any memory or story connected to those hard and rewarding memories?
Oh, shit. Catherine wants to go deep.
No.
It's kind of a good question, though. I would say the hardest part is the struggle of being an indie production company and everything that comes along with that, right? Because I think it required, when we were all working on it, for all of us to become masters of stuff we weren't masters at, that we probably shouldn't have been responsible for, right? I would say.
Oh, God.
And so it just causes a lot of tension. It's very rewarding because you don't have a lot of feedback and you don't really have anybody to answer to. But it's very challenging when you're sort of competing with shows for attention that have 30 times the budget that you have. You know, we get judged equally
Yes.
at the Emmys or whatever awards we're up for, GLAAD Awards, whatever.
With all of the drag experts online, absolutely.
Yeah, and in that case, I'm very proud. That would be maybe one of the more rewarding moments, is to see what we're able to create with the resources that we have. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
So that's very satisfying. I don't know how you guys feel.
No, I kind of agree. I think it's just a high stress string of months, and that is not just like us taking on jobs that maybe we're not qualified for or we know what we're doing, but bitch, you got to fake it till you make it, and we're making it. But also like leaving the house and being away from your life and animals and really committed to a project, it really takes a lot. Like you have to sacrifice a ton, and I think that might be the most difficult. But probably the most rewarding thing, I think, is how much farther the show actually reaches than just a drag competition show. You know, it's a reality competition show. For some shows, it just begins and ends right there. But for us, like, and even in the nature of the compliments and thank you, we contribute to the community and we put some shine on the weirdos and the people that are usually just left to the shadows, and we drag them out and put them in the center of the stage and turn their weaknesses into their superpowers. And I think that resonates with so many people, and that's like really satisfying to me, and I'm proud of that.
I think part of what you said that actually is difficult too is that it's never enough, right? It's never enough. Whatever you choose to do, whatever kind of diversity you choose to celebrate, there's always people that are going to find something wrong with it. And I think it took me a long time to sort of figure out how to deal with that, and not take that personally, because it's like we put so much into it that of course we take it personally. Yeah. But I think we're getting a little better at that as the years go.
We are, and you are with my help for sure. But the truth is, it's just a reflection of human nature, right? And we all have the good and the bad sort of on the inside. Some people have a little bit more bad than good. And I think those are the people that you just hear the negative shit. You know it's coming. No matter how good you are, no matter how much diversity,
nuance,
no matter how many minority groups you represent, whether it's like female camera ops or like trans men, trans women, drag kings, queens, everything in between. You know what? Someone is going to cry about an aspect that they don't see.
Yeah.
I think for me, the hardest part of the experience was the feeling that we had all worked so hard on this thing. And I don't fault anyone who has ever felt this way, but for people who were on the show sort of looking at it as, I didn't get enough out of this, because we, the three people at this table, and by extension, the people on, one circle out, and of course, every single crew member and everyone who has touched the show gave that show and gives the show their 100% all. There was nothing more we could have given. So to hear that from some people was, ooh, that stings.
Yeah.
But for me, the most rewarding part of the Boulet Brothers Dragula is looking at a project and looking at the people around and saying, these are my friends, and we believe in this project. This is a creative project. No one told us to make it. It was just something that was like, we have this dream, this shared dream that we are going to make this show, and it is going to mean something. And motherfucker, it means a lot. And it's like I think about it all the time. I'm like, I love this show. Like I'm so proud of it. We just did the damn thing. Holy shit!
It was very interesting, you mentioning that, thinking back to the origins of it, and then now it's very commonplace. Oh, we're up for 6 Emmys this year. That's such a huge jump, but it shows that what we're doing is working.
Aaron B asks, I was super excited when you announced video podcasts would be coming, but it seems like it has been infinitely delayed or put on hold. Are video podcasts still going to happen, or has the idea been scrapped?
So we were talking about doing the video podcast, and we really wanted to do it, but there was an injury amongst us that sort of took us out from being able to do that for a little while, which I think we're going to talk about on a future podcast probably, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, hi, it's me. I faced kind of like a serious thing back in October, and I'm still recuperating from it. So I'm actually really happy and grateful that I was able to film this film project we just finished, and now I'm ready to tour and back on stage for the first time in 6 months, because I've been in recovery and kind of like rehabilitation. So I'll talk more about it maybe at some of the tour stops, and maybe we'll put it on a podcast in the future.
Yeah, probably Seattle specifically, I would say.
Yes, because I'm going to apologize to all of the people of Seattle, because we had a date, and then we moved it, and then we had that date, and we moved it again, and then it just got canceled. And I think that they felt like we didn't care about them, or we didn't love them. It hurt, and I understand that, but it sucked on this end too, because the truth was I couldn't walk for like 2 months. It was wild.
Adam from the UK writes, so, as you are, of course, huge movie fans, what franchise would you most like to appear in, first as actors and then as yourselves in a cameo?
Interesting. I don't think I would want to appear in front of the camera outside of our characters. I just don't think that would be, I don't know. I don't have a desire to do that. If it was in character, like making a cameo, like everyone. I wanted to, I want to be in Halloween, Friday the 13th,
Yes.
all of them. Like, just have us make a cameo in any of them.
Like, there needs to be a new Addams Family movie, and we're invited to the party. I want to go to Beetlejuice's dinner, like as the Boulet Brothers. Like, that's a must.
I really feel like they should have put us in Terrifier 3, right?
That was gonna be mine. As I was like, I want to get slashed to death or something. Like, I don't know.
We're Art's parents.
Zach from Arizona writes, my question is, would you ever make a horror/slasher film? If so, what would you like it to be like? So excited for season 6. Thank you.
Well, I can say this. Our inspiration ranges everywhere from super campy mixed with horror to absolute terrifying,
Nightmare.
nothing funny about it nightmare.
Yeah.
So you'll get one of those. I can promise you that.
You're probably going to get one of each, I think.
Bloop, bloop.
Laws from Adelaide asks, as artists, how much input do you have regarding the accessibility considerations at venues? How have you navigated this at previous events, both with venues you've worked with a lot and new venues? What would your advice be for folks wanting to attend your shows who are unsure how to overcome accessibility barriers to attend, especially the meet and greet? How accommodating are you willing to be? And also, is it possible to arrange an accessible meet and greet in advance through appropriate channels? If possible, could you please elaborate on how to go about this?
Okay, so here's the truth. We have absolutely no say. over anything like that. Tour companies choose the venues that we perform in, and we don't even find out what each place is like until we get there that day. And similarly, in Los Angeles, there are strict codes by the city for these businesses to make sure that their venues are up to par. Now, we don't know if they are or aren't. There's no way for us to know. Assuming that they're still open, then you think, well, I guess it's fine. But it's really very outside of our control. But what I will say is we've done a lot of meet and greets with people that were mobility challenged, and the tour company always figures out a way to accommodate them. So don't let that stop you from coming, for sure.
Well, my darlings, I think that brings us to the end of the road of the newest episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. I do want to remind you that the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5 tour is kicking off right now, and we're terrorizing 17 or 18 cities across the country. So if you want to get a little taste of that, be sure to visit DragulaLive.com and get your tickets now.
All right, so Ian, that means we're going to have to say goodbye again for a little bit, but maybe we'll do some Zencaster or something.
Please. My digital door is always open.
So where can people find you on Twitch?
People can find me at twitch.tv/devogler. That is DEVOGLAER.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the flesh soon at a tour stop near you.
Oh, and if you want to rate, review, and subscribe, we would love you for it. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Dracmorda and Swanthula Boulet, along with co-host Ian DeVogler, with music by Neuron Spectre.